Hits from John Mulaney to Santana and the Doobie Brothers, My Chemical Romance, and more. Don't wait. Enter now at KFAN.com. Keyword contest.
Couple 13-14 pastime common. Keys tend to be, before the program started today, begin, was over in the sales stable, talking to the sales staff, trying to come up with ideas to help our wonderful advertisers. We appreciate your patronage. And we ended up talking a little bit of Wolves basketball last night, and one of the sales people thought that Wembanyama guy's kind of cocky, you know. He was on the bench going, what, me? What did I, it's like, I don't really call him. He might be cocky. I think a lot of athletes in general are cocky. I think a lot of it's just a lot of self-confidence. I mean, Ant's cocky.
Yeah, I was going to say, Anthony Edwards is cocky.
Yeah, is anybody. And as a matter of fact, last night he said after the game, well, first of all,
Jay McDaniels is cocky.
They were about to interview Anthony Edwards immediately following the game, and then he told the interview gal, just wait a second. Then he went over and he looked into the crowd and he put up the phone like, I'll call you. So I always love that. Before the interview began, it was important for him to tell who was over in the, maybe it was a damsel in distress. I don't know, but he said, baby. He did the old, I'll get back to it. And then he came back and she asked him. And he said, why? And I don't have the exact quote, but it was like he said, I just knew I had to basically take it upon myself to win the game. And I don't think that's cocky. It's just he could just see it. Everybody at watch knows. Why would he say any different? He's there on the floor. They're 8 points down. It's Angelo Dundee, great boxing trainer and cornerman for Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali, blah, blah, blah. When Leonard was fighting, I think it was the Hearns fight, the first Hearns fight. In the corner, the microphone caught Dundee saying, "You're blowing it, kid. You're blowing it. I mean, what are you doing?" And then Leonard rallied to stop Hearns in the 14th round. That was back when they championship fight still had a 13th, 14th, and 15th round. And you could say the same thing about the Wild last night, or Wolves last night. Wembanyama's not in the game. You're blowing it. What are you doing? Yeah, you can't lose this game under these circumstances, especially being down 2-1 and having to travel back to San Antonio. And Edwards took it upon himself. He did. I wouldn't put it on the same level as Kirby Puckett Game 6 climb on my back, but it was kind of like, I have to win this game. And he made big shots when he had to. Under the circumstances, with every time he would take the ball, if he brought the ball across the center court stripe or got it, inside, the offensive zone, the other end of the floor, they double teamed him immediately. Mm-hmm. So he was, yeah, I mean, is there
I was going to say, what was cockier, Wembanyama's reaction to finding out he was ejected, or Ant hitting a shot and then on his way back, like, hitting the opposing team's coach, like, in the stomach area?
right? Yeah.
And, like, basically talking smack to the opposing coach.
That's what you do. And that's what that comes part and parcel with the NBA. Speaking of the NBA, this one says it was Ant telling his brother he would call him. Yo, this is Shaq. I'll call you back. Oh, this is Ant. I'll call you back.
I'm seeing a graphic right now on ESPN.com.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, 30-point games in the playoffs. He has 18.
Yeah.
All Timberwolves, other than him combined, have had 17 in the history of the franchise.
Yeah. Part of that's just because of his play. They've played a lot more playoff games than the other Wolves play. Like Garnett played in... played
in like 7 series,
but they were always...
7, 8, 9 series?
Yeah, but they were always one and done. So, speaking of basketball players and cocky, I did not see this happen live. Shaq's been out and Draymond's been in for Shaq. We know what that's all about. Does Shaq just take time off?
Well, Shaq was back last night, I saw.
Okay, so maybe it was just time off. Anyways, the story reads as follows from The Athletic. It says, Chuck Barkley says he won't get into a war of words or battle of stature with Draymond Green. On Wednesday's episode of Inside the NBA, the Golden State Warriors forward took a shot at the twilight years of Barkley's Hall of Fame career when he played for the Houston Rockets. Here's what Green said when Barkley suggested the Warriors' run was over and Green would need to go elsewhere to compete for a title. He said, I think the goal is to just not look like you in the Houston Rockets uniform. It's ultimately the goal for us. Barkley didn't respond to the jab on air. 2 days later, he explained why he let the comment go. He was on Bickley and Murata. Bickley and Murata radio, sports radio. He said, I never punched down. Draymond's a good player. We're not on the same level. I can hear, but I don't have to respond every time somebody says something about me. Chuck's right on both accounts. I kind of think, stranger things have happened. We'll see. But if they bring the old band back together in Golden State without infusing some youthful enthusiasm, some talented youthful enthusiasm, it's hard for me to believe that Steph and Draymond and, the other Splash Brother's gone, right? He left 2-3 years
ago. Clay, yeah. He went to Dallas.
Yeah, I just don't, Ted, you can use this next time the Tennis Fitzgerald set sails. Nobody's ever beaten Father Time. And I think, and so I think Draymond took umbrage at that, because he's probably thinking we can still, maybe they can, turn this thing around, build this thing together, stand stronger. I also think Barkley, even though Draymond has 4 world titles, Barkley was a better player than Draymond.
Oh, nobody would debate that.
I would hope Draymond.
I don't think Draymond's mom would disagree with that.
Because Barkley could flat out play basketball. And Barkley's performances with Phoenix lost to Chicago, I think, back-to-back NBA Finals, right? Those were Barkley's best opportunities to win world titles, and it didn't happen. But you're facing Mike Jordan, right?
Yeah,
that's like how many other golfers would have additional majors, or at least their only major, had Tiger Woods not been around? Who's the guy who lost the? Why am I so bad with names? He was a member over Golden Valley. Rocco Mediate. He lost in an 18-hole Monday playoff with Tiger Woods. If he's not around, he's got a major, right? Chris DeMarco had the year that Tiger chipped in from behind the green on 16 where the ball just hung on the lip for a second and went in, lost in a playoff to him. Ernie Els, Vijay Singh, these guys would have had additional majors had it not been for Woods. Barkley just happened to go up against the best player in the world, maybe the best player of all time.
Well, Draymond just happened to have some of the best players in the world on his team. I did not see, there was a roast of Kevin Hart last night on Netflix that I did not watch. I probably will at some point. But I did see a highlight on TikTok, and one of the comedians was roasting Draymond because Draymond was there. Okay. And basically said, Draymond taking credit for winning 4 championship titles is like Ringo Starr taking credit for all 11 number 1 albums.
Yeah, that would be it. Is consequential as Ringo was to the band. It's Lennon McCartney's writing, and then later on Harrison's contributions on some of the later albums. And yeah, you're right. Draymond, hell of a player, defensive.
He was a great role player.
Yeah, great role player.
Yeah, maybe the best. He's kind of like the Dennis Rodman of this generation.
Yeah, and he obviously he's had some unsavory moments. He's had some moments where he probably, and I don't know if, and he embraces his, I don't know if it would be bad guy or bully reputation. There was the commercial this past winter heading into the holidays where they had several celebrities checking in with Santa to see if they were naughty or nice and going to get a gift. And at the very end, it's Draymond, and Santa shakes his head at him and says, no, you're out. So Draymond embraces that role and that reputation, and that's good for him, I guess. But yeah, so I did not see that part, but I just love the Chuck because I don't punch down.
It's the perfect response.
I loved Barkley as a player. I really did. I don't see how you couldn't. Round mound or rebound, 6'6", and could rebound like nobody's business. And it was fun to watch.
Yeah, the don't punch down has been kind of the philosophy of some of our members of the Coroner's office over there. We've always had radio stations, both locally and nationally, that have been trying to trying to get us involved in the war. I mean, Denver was just doing it in the Nuggets Super Bowl series.
Were they really?
Where they were trying to attack like Minnesota sports media members, and one of them went after PA. And
why didn't I hear about this? Because I would have piled on and gone after PA.
Well, we don't punch down. We just ignore it.
Well, yeah, but not me. If I would have known about it, I would have punched down on PA too. It's so much fun to punch down on Barney the Purple Dinosaur. What'd they say?
Well, I mean, I could go find it for you, but basically there was like one of those. I think they're on the altitude.
Altitude.
There's like a group of 4 of them, and they're doing the old let's trash Minnesota people for a segment, and make fun of 10,000 lakes, more like 10,000 losers. Telling those types of jokes. And then one of them just out of nowhere took shots at Paul Allen.
Remember when Mike Irwin was on, Irvin?
Yes.
Was on with us? And then that Dallas radio station that he was with, they put up my face and they had me with like I had a dress on and I had a women's hat and I thought it was very becoming. I thought it was they had me as a cross dresser. And
little did they know how many of the women's qualities you have.
Well, that's it. And then I've also been the taste fairy, so I've been a lot of different things. Let's take a break and come back. 10 to beat keyword. You got it?
Yeah, the fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword cash at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. The keyword is cash. Enter now at KFAN.com.
Caprice up wide open, dances with it. He scores! Kaprizov undressed Wedgwood and ripped it upstairs, and the Wild have a 1-0 lead. With Loftus, goal stick, Hughes left circle, darts in, spins back. Hughes through the high slot, fires, he scores! Quinn Hughes hits a power play goal, and it's 2-0 Minnesota.
Well, the PK's working the power play.
Just sent out on my Twitter account a photograph of engineering guy Chad Abbott feverishly trying to replace the PoE switch. That's what we've determined it is.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
And you said but they didn't want to hear from you.
No.
They said leave the engineering and the computer repairs to the professionals. So they dismissed anything you had to say, but you can go to my Twitter account and see them feverishly working on the PoE switch. You talk about radio station and sports teams, rivalries. They're in Denver. They're trying to get PA going. I started at the Fan with the capable Carl Allen. It was Common. Well, I wasn't even Common at the time. It was Carl and Dan on the Fan. We would do weekend stuff. Then I started working on the Chad and Barrero show, blah, blah, blah. But what was Carl and I first met at the radio station in Forest Lake, which is now just a satellite Christian music station. But at the time, it was a local radio station. It was music, news, weather, sports. They had a, God, I remember the jingle too. It was like, I'll think of it. Well, I'll think of the jingle here. Just music, news, and just good listening in the land of lakes. So it was Lakes Radio is what they called it. So, Carl's the morning guy. I'm the news and sports guy. So as we were first getting to know each other, kind of like, well, so where'd your radio travels take you? Town, up and down the dial. He'd worked at a radio station in Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is is Oklahoma State the Cowboys? Yeah, because Oklahoma's the Sooners. So that was the home of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, right? I was working at a radio station in Wyoming before I got there called KMER. We had the Wyoming Cowboys, okay? That was that's the university based out of Laramie. I had done a wacky radio bit. Everybody that did morning radio in small towns did this bit where, well, you hear it, you'll see mayors do it, right? Like the mayor of Green Bay will, he'll bet a a block of cheese against, the Minnesota mayor, or Minneapolis, Mayor of Minneapolis, and we'll put up like lutefisk. So I randomly called a radio station in Stillwater, Oklahoma, called their morning guy, because I was doing mornings, and we bet I don't know if his was, Oklahoma barbecue. I don't know. We each bet something, right? Did the bid on the radio, because the two teams were meeting in a bowl game. Oklahoma State Cowboys were playing the Wyoming Cowboys in some football bowl game. So as I'm talking to the capable Carl Allen, he goes, Stillwater, Oklahoma, I go, you a morning guy there? Yeah. I go, did you ever do a bet with a guy from a Wyoming radio station in which you are? He goes, yeah, some wacky radio bit with a guy. We bet something. So before, that was me. Wow. We made the bet. So this was before we met each other at the radio station. We actually had talked to each other. We did that. I think the Wyoming Cowboys ended up losing that. We never intended to pay off the debt. It was just the bet. It was just a wacky radio bit. But yeah, isn't that funny? We'll bet this against that. I don't know what we would.
How about we're like in year 21 of me being on the show with you, and you finally told me a story I hadn't heard before.
Really?
I had not heard that one.
It might have been a time when you weren't, because I have recanted it a couple of times.
You've never said that one while I've been on here.
Yeah, that was me, the capable Carl Allen and I. I don't even know what you would bet. The folks in Denver, like we would give them.
Well, they would bet weed.
Well, or maybe an oxygen tank. Well, because the air's thinner up there. They would give us an oxygen tank if they lose, and we would give them lutefisk or walleye, a walleye sandwich. But I'm not in them. So they went after PA a little bit.
I owe you $4, by the way. You won our bet last week.
Oh.
In game 3, you picked you had the Spurs, I had the Wolves. Spurs won that one.
Yeah. I feel bad betting against the hometown team, but you know what? When it comes to
you get your $4.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Somebody just sent me SI.com and me Timberwolves Denver radio hosts keep taking shots at Minnesota sportscasters. Where can I find that? On SI.com?
It's probably like a Bring Me the News thing.
Yeah, SI.
Just Google it.
Denver.
Well, it started off by them. One of them was ripping Dane Moore, who is we've had him on the Tenna Fitzgerald mini. He's like my basketball guy on the Tenna Fitzgerald, who's not really associated with a media entity. He just kind of does his own thing, right? He's kind of what Gleeman's doing now, where he's just independent on his own, and he's built up his own podcast and his own reporting, and he travels to all the road games. And it was after the Jaden McDaniels basically doing the loser soundbite, talking about all their defensive issues.
Oh, right.
And one of the radio guys in Denver was ripping how he asked the question or how he responded after the question or the follow-up. I don't remember what it was. So that kind of started the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, here it is.
They call him Dumb Moore.
That's creative.
Oh, so funny.
Denver radio host, specifically Denver fans, 104.3 The Fan. Darren McKee and former NFL player Tyler Columbus. That must have been a short live radio career or football career. I've never heard of the guy before.
I always loved that.
Was that the guy that with the really long hair that played for Pittsburgh?
Who does the shampoo commercials?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
They took shots at longtime Vikings radio voice Paul. Taking shots at a national treasure, you can't win that.
Yeah.
You have no chance to that. That's not even worth taking the risk. In late April 20, amid intensified tension during the Timberwolves Nuggets playoffs. Tension between who? Radio people? Key details of the incident. The rips. During a segment, McKee and Columbus were criticizing Minnesota media figures and took a stray shot at Allen with McKee stating the only person who's a worse broadcaster than Paul Allen in Minnesota is Dane Moore. Gotcha. The comments occurred as Denver radio personnel were aggressively mocking Minnesota sports, referring to as the land of 10,000 losers, and mocking various local media members, according to Reaction. The shots at Allen, who primarily covers Vikings and not the Wolves, were seen as part of a broader, heated pot-stirring effort by Denver shock jocks during the 2026 NBA playoffs. Shock jocks. This banter was highlighted by SI's Fan Nation and Bring Me the Sports, which noted that Allen was caught in the crossfire of a wire media beef between the two cities. Silly.
Bitter on Twitter.
Bitter on Twitter. Well, my guess is the folks in Denver were trying to prop up sagging ratings.
Probably.
That's what they're probably doing. Ratings sagging. My guess, especially when you have a former athlete, that's always a serious sports talk show. Let's break down the middle relief of the Colorado Rockies. I'd rather not. Timmy, would you rather break down the middle relief of the Minnesota Twins, or would you rather talk about Chad Abbott trying to fix the gonculator on Meat Sauce's computer? I think the gonculator computer wins. I really do. I think most people would rather do that. I found the game. It was the 1988 Holiday Bowl. Oklahoma State won 62-14. I knew Oklahoma State won. And Barry Sanders had 222 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's how long ago it was. 88, Barry Sanders. Those were the good old days, my friend. We'll take a break, come back. One more segment to go. It's Common and 10 to be here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
It was a fun weekend on the Fan.
Now Ant takes the handoff, rises up and gets the Wolves.
After review, there is wind-up, impact, and follow-through above the neck of an opponent. It is unnecessary and excessive to contact by Wembanyama. It meets all the criteria and has been upgraded to a flagrant foul penalty 2. Wembanyama's been ejected.
It's perfectly executed by the officials. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Wendy may have just changed this series. He's gone. A flagrant 2.
Let's not get carried away. I guess maybe.
I mean, it was a pivotal game last night.
Yes. I don't know if they lost because they were without Wemby. I think they missed some key shots late in the game, and that I'm due in part to some really good defense. They had an 8-point lead with 2 or 3 minutes to go. I mean,
their offense was actually more efficient without Wemby. Now, obviously, defensively, he's
So again, I mean, it could have been, but someone sent, well, it wasn't someone, it was Deuce. Deuce sent me a screenshot of a Zach Helverson tweet. Just heard the terrible news that the famous log cabin Wendy's in Nisswa has permanently closed. My heart goes out to everyone else affected by this loss, especially Chris Hockey. At Chris Hockey. What a sad day for the Brainerd Lakes area, Minnesota, America, and ultimately the world. And it is a sad day. I have a story about that. Wendy's in Brainerd, Nisswa. Maybe this is one you have heard, Tennessee. You said I told a story about the capable Carl Allen and I making a friendly radio/sports wager when our respective college football teams were playing in a bowl game. This is when Deuce and baby brother Peter were very young. I'm talking like probably 4 and 6 years old, maybe 7 and 5. We go to the Wendy's. We go inside. We order our food. It's 9 o'clock at night or so. We go sit down to eat the food, and some young kid, who must be the manager on duty, goes, "You got to leave." What do you mean I got to leave? We have to leave. Is the place on fire? No, it says we're only open for, we're not open for inside dining. Well, I just ordered food up here, and you gave me my food. And I'm inside the building, and we want to sit down and eat here. Can't do it. I go, I'm not leaving. We're going to eat our food right here. And my boys are they've got this horrified look. They're scared now because their old man is now, well, no, I'm not leaving. You should have told me that before when you came. Why are your doors open? There's no sign or anything that says you can order inside, but you have to leave immediately. I didn't leave. We ate our food. And we disposed of the paper bags and the trays and everything in the proper place. I talked about it on the air on Monday, and the manager of the place, the guy that runs or owned the place, called up and apologized. Said, yeah, they should never have done that.
That's bizarre.
Well, yeah. Tell them we have to leave the place. Because my guess, they just all wanted to leave.
Yeah, they wanted to get out of it.
They wanted to get out of it. Well, then don't lock your doors and say the drive-thru is the only place that's open. Maybe that's why they're closing. I don't know. But yeah, so we all, and Deuce and baby brother Peter were, Dad, stop. Don't worry, Dad. Well, let's just leave. No, I'm taking a stand for what's right. Do you think I was in the right, or would you have just left? I mean, I guess you could say, well, you should have just left then.
I probably would not have been as confrontational as you.
Oh, I was confrontational, yeah. But, yeah.
But it does seem bizarre to let people in, but then say you can't eat here.
Yeah, that's like I say, they probably should have.
And there's no rationale for it other than they just want to get out of there.
I think that's exactly what it was. I saw another, oh no, here's another basketball story I stumbled across, Tennessee. You'll like this one. Who's the NBA's most overrated player, underrated player, best coach? Anonymous player poll results. Now, this is done by the athletic staff of Josh Robbins, Sam Amick, and Joe Varden. Do you think, Tennessee, that they're just making up these responses, that nobody anonymous, you call them and say, hey, want to do a poll, but we're not going to say who it's coming from? I guess
I did do that in college once, where I realized I had a paper due the next day, and I hadn't even started, and I was supposed to, it just came out of nowhere, and I completely forgot about it, so I literally made up the data that was in there.
Yeah. I like that.
And it didn't go too well for me.
You didn't get a good grade?
No.
Well, and
I passed.
I shouldn't say that about these guys, but it's like, I wonder how many actually respond. Because if I'm a general manager and someone calls me and says, hey, got an anonymous poll I want to take here. It's not as player, you're a player. Hey, would you tell me in a second? Dude, I don't want to do that, but maybe they did. So we'll say that they asked the questions. Who do you think? There was 151 votes cast. 151 players agreed to cast a vote. Who is the league's most underrated player? Jalen Johnson by 4%, along with Derek White. Can you tell me, Tennessee, who Jalen Johnson or Derek White play for? I have no idea.
Is Jalen on the Thunder?
Could be.
Or am I thinking of someone else?
It took me a while to find a name I recognize. It would be Drew Holiday. I recognize that name. Yeah. Austin Reeves. And he used to be one of us. Naw's on that list.
Is he in Atlanta this year?
I think that's exactly where he went. I'm pretty sure. There are Naz Reid's on that list, but he received 1.5% of the vote. Naz Reid, most underrated player. Most overrated player.
Most overrated player?
Most overrated player. He received 12.3% of 81 votes cast.
LeBron?
No. Elperin Sengun. Is it Sengun? Oh. Sengun?
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he's
apparently he's not rated highly enough.
Yeah, no, he plays for Rudy Gobert is number 2 on that list. Most overrated player.
I feel like no one even rates him highly enough to be overrated. Yeah. I feel like everyone just craps on him.
Yeah. Well, he's won 4 Defensive Player of the Year. So maybe there are people that think, well, no, he's overrated. He's not that good of a defensive player. But he's won 4 Defensive Player of the Years. He was a little miffed that he's not being considered for a 5th.
I will say Rudy was brilliant in the Denver series. And I thought he got off to a good start in this series. Last night, now he ended up getting some buckets for you down the stretch, but when Rudy went out, or when Wembanyama went out, I thought, well, we're just going to be owning the glass on both sides. And Rudy was getting outplayed there for a while.
He was.
The reserve center for San Antonio was getting easy looks under the hoop. He was getting offensive rebounds. So that was disappointing.
He plays for the Rockets. The Rockets.
Who does?
The Sengun. He's a Rockets player. There's some other names on the underrated list that raise some interesting issues. I lost the story, but I'll find it again. Here it is. Most overrated players. Gobert checked in at number 2 on that list. Karl Anthony Towns, 4th on the list. Big Meow Bodega Cat, number 4.
What list?
Most overrated.
Okay.
Ja Morant, 4.9%. Luka Doncic is on that list, 3.7%, most overrated. But no more Minnesota Timberwolves on that list. And then, this was interesting. Which current coach, aside from your own, do you find the most impressive? Finch doesn't end up on this list at all. Now, okay. if you play for Finch, you can't vote for him.
Yeah.
So it'd be players that don't. But apparently, other players around the league, I'm that's not to say that Finch isn't a good coach, but I just found it interesting he's not on that list at all. There are a handful of other coaches that aren't mentioned as well, but he's not on that list. Then the next question was, which current coach, aside from your own, do you find the least impressive? And if you did find your own coach the least impressive, you're probably better off if you don't say anything, especially if it's not anonymous. And once again, Tenneby, our guy Finch doesn't appear on that list at all. So the rest of the players in the NBA that don't play for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're not impressed by Finch or they're not unimpressed by Finch, if that makes any sense.
He's the best, lousiest.
That's what it kind of sounds like to me. And
I think he's a good coach.
I think so. I mean, I don't know enough about the ins and outs of coaching. I'm an NBA casual, as you know, but you've heard me say this so many times, and I think it's hard to debate this. If you get to the level of being hired as a head coach in the National Basketball Association, 99% of the time you know how to coach. Just, are you as good as the other coaches? Do you have the personnel? There are always some coaches that are better than others. You're going to rank them all, right? So obviously Chris Finch knows his X's and his O's, but how good of a coach is he remains to be seen. But you don't accidentally stumble your way to a head coaching job in the NBA and don't know how to coach basketball. I think you would agree with that. And then
stumble your way into 2 Western Conference Finals and chance of a 3rd.
Exactly. So that's why I think, I think, who is the league's best defensive player? It's not even close. Tend to be 41.1%. Second place are their 2 guys at 4.6. Who do you think?
Victor Wembanyama.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
41.1% say he's the best. That's followed by Chris Dunn and Kawhi Leonard at 4.6.
Chris Dunn, wasn't he a Wolves draft pick?
He was one of ours, yeah.
Huh.
Kawhi Leonard, 4.6. Scotty Barnes, Jaden McDaniels are both at 4.0% of the vote. And Rudy Gobert gets 2.0%. So even though Rudy Gobert is considered overrated by a lot of the people that responded to this, they also say he's amongst he got votes, put it this way, for defensive player. He only got 2%, but he did get some because of a whopping 41% for Victor Wembanyama. And it's
I'm surprised he didn't get more.
Why? Yeah. What's interesting, what like Ant said, he said he's just everywhere in the paint. It's just like he didn't even have to block shots, tend to be. He just alters the way you shoot the ball, what you want to do with the ball, how you attack the Spurs when you're on offense. He changes everything.
How many times have the Wolves gotten in the lane and they keep trying to like those high floaters? Yeah. They're so scared of him blocking.
That's exactly right. And that's all they can do. Here's another one of those athletic, when we love list radio. Eagles, Raiders, Cowboys among 9 teams having the best NFL off seasons, which is kind of sad when you think about it. Because the Eagles are already good enough as it is. Why do they have to have one of the best off seasons? Tend to be. The San Francisco 49ers are good enough already. Why do they have to have one of the better off seasons? Tend to be the Los Angeles Rams are good enough. Why do they have to have another great off season? It's just annoying because that just means, as we like to say, the rich get richer. Now, that was a list of contending teams. So they were talking about teams that are contending, which of those teams did the best. As far as rebuilding teams, Radiators were at 1, Browns were at 2, Saints were at 3, and then teams on the brink. Dallas Cowboys checked in at number 1. The Vikings checked in at number 2.
Ooh.
Here's what it says about the Vikings. Biggest needs heading into off-season. Quarterback, defensive tackle, offensive lineman, cornerback, safety, center, running back, wide receiver. No, I'm kidding. They had quarterback, defensive tackle, and offensive line. Key acquisitions, Kyler Murray, Caleb Banks, and James Pierre. Here's what they say. Signing Murray for the veteran minimum is enormous value. The Cardinals are still covering the vast majority of his $36.8 million salary, meaning Minnesota gets a former number 1 pick for just $1.3 million against their cap. At his best, Murray has played like a top 10 QB, but even if he's average, he'll be an enormous upgrade for an offense that has one of the best receiving duos in the league and a top-tier play caller. Additionally, some of Coach Kevin O'Connell's favorite passing concepts mesh with what Murray does well. And we've just discussed that on multiple occasions. To me, do I think that Kyler's going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback and lead the Vikings into a deep playoff run? I don't know. I mean, we know that his rookie, you have to remind me, wasn't his rookie year really solid?
Yeah.
And since then, he's been up and down, probably more down than up, right? But I said this to somebody today, and I think you and I talked about this. You couldn't enter next season going, well, here's our quarterback room. It's 9, Wentz, and Max Brosmer. I mean, you can't. The fan base would go, what are you doing? The players on the team would say, what are you doing? Ownership would say, what are you doing? They had to get somebody. And look, it's limited to find talented quarterbacks, right? They just don't grow on trees. So I do think that was a coup. Now, again, if he doesn't have anything left, if we've seen his high watermark, it's not going to matter much. But the phrase we love to use, on paper, it looks like a pretty good signing for them.
How about the fact that Cooper Rush, former quarterback or former Ravens Cowboys quarterback, was participating in a minicamp trial for the Vikings? Yes. I found that to be interesting because either A, they're just, hey, if we have injuries during the regular season, this is someone we could bring along.
Okay, right.
Or B, maybe they're still looking at shopping number 9.
Oh my gosh. Number 9.
Wait, don't you think that's curious when you already have 4 quarterbacks?
And who else was in there? Isn't somebody's former NFL quarterback's son, I think, was also involved in that? They had like 2 or 3 guys there. Cooper Rush. And
was it Bauman?
I think it was Bauman. I think it was Bauman's son, Todd Bauman's kid.
But I mean, like, Cooper Rush has been like an established backup quarterback in his league. He's actually started games and had at least a little bit of success.
Story goes on to say the interior of the offensive line is still shaky, and that could be an issue for a shorter quarterback, but protection should be much better than last season with Darrisaw and O'Neal healthy again, if they are indeed healthy again. I believe they will be, because both were playing last year through injury, so it wasn't like they ended the season on the disabled or the injured list and had major surgeries in front of them. So they both should be healthy. And if they can play like they are capable of, that should help. It says defensively, they traded away Grenard, and they can really use Harrison Smith back. His ability to make on-field adjustments is critical. However, their defensive line could be better if rookie defensive tackles Caleb Banks and Dominique Orange are as good as I think they can be. This is I think is who
we call him Big Citrus.
Big Citrus. Banks has the potential to be an elite disruptor if he can stay healthy. And Big Citrus was one of the best run stuffers in the draft. Safety Jacoby Thomas is an intelligent big hitter who gives defensive coordinator Brian Flores a good option if Smith doesn't return. Free agent corner James Pierre is an ascending player, could benefit from the pressure Flores creates. The Vikings offense will have its mojo back, and the defense will keep giving opponents headaches. Sounds like we're back, Tennessee, according to the guy in The Athletic.
We're coming.
I still had all these doubts about the club, about where we've been, where we're going, where we're at. And now when I read this, it's sort of like a Tennessee montage. I'm ready to run through a brick wall right now for this Vikings club. I don't know about you.
And we can build this thing together, standing strong forever. Nothing's going to stop us now.
A little falsetto, Tennessee. That's when he was younger. There was a deuce for it. Yeah, so I don't know, Tennessee. The Banks thing is kind of the wild card, right?
Well, it's hard to know what the impact the rookies are going to have and how quickly those impacts will come. Obviously, those defensive linemen are probably going to get a good opportunity to start right out of the gate because I don't think there's a ton of competition in there. But the initial Kyler Murray point, when we were talking, when the Vikings were looking for a quarterback and we were discussing the potential options out there, the reason I said Murray at the time was, well, he has the highest ceiling, and you have to give up nothing for him.
Correct.
So there's basically no risk. If it doesn't work out, you're not committed to him for multiple years, and he costed he does have an opportunity to be one of the best values, at least for 2026 in the entire National Football League for the bang for your buck.
And then regarding the Banks guy, I think it's pretty universal, your pro football and college football experts, that Banks has undeniable talent. He can stop the run, he can rush the passer, blah, 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 but it is the 2 foot surgeries. He broke his foot twice, apparently, and you wonder if that's going to be one of those recurring injuries, and then they're in trouble. But Tennessee, I'm going to go with this. We're going to be really dangerous this year. When is schedule release?
Well, they've already started leaking stuff this week. No. I think it's coming this week.
Oh, when do we play Green Bay? I bet we play